Hello, hello. Welcome to Curated by Chelsea. If you are new here, welcome back if you're not. I am Chelsea, and today I'm going to be talking about Bougie Hobbies. I am taking a page out of Cozy K's book. She talks about hobbies quite often, usually cozy ones, but I want to talk about bougie ones because I'm a bougie girl and I kind of like being bougie. So let's get into it. But before I begin, I do want to say that a lot of these hobbies can range from being affordable to very expensive. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking for a free hobby, this might not be the place for you. You can do some of these affordably. So just, check out the list first before you decide. So anyway, let's begin. Number one on the list is DIY floral arrangements. So I really love this one because it can be very simple to very intricate. You can use fresh flowers or you can use dried flowers. I personally love to arrange fresh flowers in a nice pretty vase, and vases can be very affordable. It's the flowers that can get really pricey. But I used to do this a lot when I used to frequent Trader Joe's a lot, and I would go and get like tulips and baby's breath. That was like my favorite combination, and yeah, I just loved that combination, especially in tulip season. I just think it made my room look so much more grown and upgraded at the time. And I love that you can arrange the flowers based off of the season. So if it's fall, you would use like sunflowers or lavender. And then in the winter, usually you wouldn't do too much in the winter unless it was like Valentine's Day. And you can just do roses. Roses are always like at stores. But I also like that you have options. You can go to the grocery store, get some flowers, or you can go to a florist and get some like really designer like flowers. So however bougie you want this to be, there's a range. So I love that. You can go with a really basic flower or a really like crazy designer flower. If you're like a flower girl, you like to receive flowers, you like giving people flowers, definitely look into DIY floral arrangements. And another cool thing is you can use fake flowers if you like want to start a business with it. I don't believe in making hobbies a business, but if that is something you're looking into and people really start to like it, why not? It could be a little side hustle. Number two on the list is charcuterie board styling. If you are a hostess with the mostest, I think charcuterie board styling is definitely up your alley. I have done this a few times. I'm not the best at arranging them like my mom is, but my mom, she is a charcuterie board connoisseur, and I love that about her. If somebody needs a cheese board, she's the one to call. If somebody wants the little salami flowers, I believe she can do that. I do believe she can do that. She just puts together a very nice charcuterie board. Now, I know charcuterie is usually meats and cheese, but you can do candy boards, you can do cereal boards, you can do bagel boards. I have done a bagel board. I did a brunch board once, and I like to throw events, so this is up my alley. I love a nice fruit board and dessert table or board. Those are usually my favorites. There are a few books that I think you can buy that have tutorials on how to arrange cheese boards. There are also some Instagram pages that they're amazing. They're so intricate. And yes, this is probably going to be pretty pricey because the meats tend to be pretty expensive, but the cheeses, you know what, I don't really know. I think the cheeses are pretty affordable. It just depends on what you get and how big you want the board to be. The actual boards themselves can be very pricey. So definitely check out a Home Goods or TJ Maxx if you're looking for a nice big board. Number three on the list is journaling, but with a more luxury twist. This doesn't have to be with the luxury twist, but I put journaling on the list because, you could just brain dump, write in a notebook, and that's that. But you could also add photos. I like to use the little HP printers. So I have a little HP printer, and you can put any kind of photo paper in here, and it just prints out a picture. So I use the sticker paper, but like I said, you can use just regular photo paper. But I like to use the sticker paper because I don't have to use a tape runner to glue it down. But that is kind of scrapbooking, kind of journaling. It's like half and half, but I definitely love journaling with photos. I like to add quotes in there. That's how I like to journal. Now you can add even more and do more of scrapbooking spreads with homemade paper. You can use dried flowers that you got in your floral arrangement. You can use just a bunch of different things, and this can get very pricey, but it can also be very cheap in my opinion, because really all you need is a notebook. You can doodle and make your journaling spreads really artistic with just pen, paper, or pencil. Or you can just go all out there, buy stationery to like glue in or tape in, and your journal spreads could look really, really nice. Number 4 on the list is an at-home wine tasting. I think this is really cool for events. So if you're another hostess with the mostest, definitely host a wine tasting party. My best friend did this for her last birthday at the cabin, and I thought it was pretty fun, you know? It was nice to try different types of wine. Most of them ended up being red. I like to try different types of wines, not just always red. I know a lot of people love red wine and that's their thing. For me, I just like to do whites and reds, and I like to do a nice semi-sweet red. I don't like super sweet, but I also don't like dry. So I'm very picky when it comes to my wine. So it's always good to try new ones. An at-home wine tasting is just a very bougie experience, in my opinion. And if you can get multiple people to like bring new wines that they've never tried and go to like these unique spots to get the wines, I think it could be really fun. This could probably range from affordable to very expensive. So keep that in mind when you get your wines. I personally like a very middle range wine, not the $5.99, more like the $17.99. Those are my favorites usually. I do want to start getting more expensive ones. I don't know if the price determines how good it is. It might, but that's why I need to taste more wines. Number 5 on the list is bookbinding and scrapbooking. I combine these because I technically mentioned journaling already, and the journaling and scrapbooking can kind of go hand in hand. But with the bookbinding, if you want to get into making your own notebooks, I think that would be a very cool and creative and bougie way to start scrapbooking and journaling. I know the process for making your own notebooks can be a lot. Like bookbinding seems really hard, especially when you go all the way down to the paper making. And you have to like don't you use old paper to make the paper? I think it's something like that. And then you have to like get one of those like pulp things. I don't remember what exactly you have to do, but I remember wanting to do it at one point, and just wasn't the process for me. Disliked it all. Just was very messy and not a good type of messy. So yeah, I would rather just buy homemade paper off of Etsy and call it a day. But I could see where people would be really into it. I do think sewing the papers together would be really fun. I love sewing, so for me that part would be really cathartic. But this is just a very creative but also kind of bougie hobby that you can get into. And as far as scrapbooking goes, you know, that's very similar to journaling, especially if you want to document your memories and you can make the layouts as intricate as you want. I think the price of this would be just expensive-ish, maybe affordable. It just depends on where you source your stuff from and if you're gonna like be really rigid with it, like if you're gonna buy all the bookbinding materials or if you're just gonna do everything by hand and not get any fancy materials. Why must artistic things be so expensive? Number 6 on the list is calligraphy or hand lettering. So I at one point got into hand lettering and then I just gave up. I already have terrible handwriting, so I feel like I need to improve my handwriting before I get into any hand lettering or calligraphy. But I think calligraphy is gorgeous and I would love to be good at it. It was just taking me a lot longer to get good at it. Like when I say I would practice every day, I would practice every day, and I did it for like 3-4 months and I'm still not great at it. And I didn't do calligraphy. I did like hand lettering because there's a difference because you use certain pens and you use ink when you do calligraphy. And with hand lettering, you can use like a regular pen. But I couldn't get good at it. And it also, when you practice, your hand starts to cramp up. It just becomes a lot. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna need like years of practice for this to be really good. But one day I will like practice more often, back into it. They have books that'll help you. There's Skillshare videos that you can watch to help you out. You can also do it digitally, which I was also doing that. But I know I said like turning a hobby into a business is kind of and I try to steer away from that. But if you're good at hand lettering or calligraphy, or if you get good at it, I personally would consider doing a business because you don't see that everywhere. Like, yeah, on the internet, you see a lot of hand lettering people, but like in real life, the amount of people that would be like, yeah, can you do this for these invitations? I will pay you. Like people are like that in real life. On the internet, it does seem like so many people are doing it, but I promise you in real life, it's like wait, you hand litter? No, you gotta do these invitations, please. I don't know how much you would charge, but I would charge a pretty penny. Number 7 on the list is elevated baking. Now this can just be regular baking, but I put elevated because I'm thinking more stuff like macarons or a meringue or heart-shaped cake. If you know, you know that there's been a discourse about heart-shaped cakes on TikTok, and it's actually so silly because one is a boutique cake, one is a Walmart cake, and if you want the Walmart cake, get it. If you want a boutique cake, get it. I personally partake in bread making. I would consider that a little bit elevated because bread making is a very time consuming and can be a very tedious process, but it is so worth it. I love when my sourdough bread comes out. It's the best. It is the best. The fact that I started off with some flour and some water is crazy. Technically, I bought a pre-made starter, so I kind of did it, but it was already kind of done for me. You can buy sourdough starters off of Etsy. I bought one and my starter is still going. And one thing you can do is if you think you might lose your starter, you can save it. With the sourdough starter, you can make bagels, croissants. I've done beignets before. There are so many things I want to do. I did hamburger buns, dinner rolls. Like, you can do anything with a sourdough starter. So I would suggest it, but it is very time consuming and you do have to wait for things to proof and ferment and all that good stuff. So I do consider that elevated baking. Now, if it comes to like French baking, I'm not familiar with it. I personally do not have the patience for those different ratios, and I don't know, especially something like macarons. Like, I don't think I'll ever make macarons because they can turn out bad very quickly. One little mistake, the humidity isn't right in your house or the temperature isn't right in your house, and it's over. And that would just piss me off. A French pastry, I can't say the name of what it actually is called when you're a French baker, but I'm good. I'll stick to the bread. Number 8 on the list is perfume mixing or perfume layering. So I have mentioned this in another video, and I really like the idea of just layering perfumes or mixing them together because I want to smell good all the time. Or not all the time. I want to smell good when I'm out and about. I want people to be like, you smell so good, because why not? Why not? I think it's just cool when people figure out a good combination that goes really good together and it's very long lasting. And I think this can range from being affordable to very, very expensive, because some of those perfumes out there are super expensive. And I do feel like if you are going to buy an expensive perfume, layering it on with something cheaper makes it last longer. Yep. But yeah, I think this is a very bougie hobby, especially if you like start a collection. I think that would be so cool. And just like when people ask, oh yeah, you want to use a lactonic scent with a marshmallow scent, like, I don't know, like, that just sounds like it smells amazing. I've seen some Twitter pages talking about the fragrance mixing or perfume mixing, and I'm just like, all these terms that you guys are using, I have no idea, but it is so interesting and gives very bougie vibes. Number 9 on the list is plant styling. This was something I was interested in when I lived in my old house, and I had a lot of plants. I had about 16 plants at the time, and they all died when I moved. They all died. I have 3 plants. 3 plants that survive, and that really sucks. I made a point to make my rubber tree survive that move. But plant styling can be very fun. I used to follow a few pages on Instagram that did plant styling, and there's just so many books out there that you can get that help you with doing that. There's also YouTubers as well. I love what people do with their furniture and their plants. Like, there are people out there that would buy clothing racks and place their plants on them, or put hanging plants on the clothing racks so that their plants like would grow around the clothing rack. It would be so beautiful. Who even thinks of that stuff? That is so crazy. Meanwhile, I just have mine in planters and stands, and they're just kind of jumbled up on each other. It works, but it could be a lot prettier for sure. Plant styling, definitely look into it if you're interested. This hobby has tiers of how expensive it can be, because you can just get a glass jar and a plant clipping, certain plants, and be good. But if you want nice planters, that can be very pricey. Plant stands, very pricey. You can find good ones at Home Goods, maybe TJ Maxx, maybe World Market, but it is very hard to find a good, pretty planter that'll match your room. It'll probably be the only thing that may not match your room. or your living room, whatever room it's in. There's a range. There's a big range on how expensive this can be. So I would say from cheap to very expensive. Okay, number 10 on the list, last but not least, is home fragrance styling. And this doesn't always have to be home, but I'll get into that. So home fragrance styling that can fall into candle making or oil diffuser, and it doesn't have to be DIY. I actually met a woman when I went to the Alt Summit conference last year, and she styles homes fragrances. She also does weddings and events because people wanted there to be a scent that they remembered when they came to their house or their wedding. And I think that is amazing because that really plays into people's senses. And I really like the idea of that. And I think it would be cool to do that as like a side gig or a hobby. It doesn't have to be as serious as that, but like you can just play around with reed diffusers and create your own little scents, like a cinnamon vanilla, which is, you know, kind of basic, or, you know, play with the musk in your home, because most people, when they think fragrance, they think perfume, but you want your house to smell a certain way. You want people to remember your house in a certain way if you throw events like that. But if you don't, but you just want your house to smell good, why not experiment with some home fragrances? And when you do want to make it real bougie, you can hire someone to be like, yeah, you want your wedding to smell like white peonies? That word is always hard to say for me. Cool, I got you. Like, what? That is so cool to me. And I think this is probably one of the bougiest hobbies. If you do get serious with it, like designing a wedding scent, that's very bougie. But it's something that I would look into for sure. And I would probably hit up the lady that I met, and yeah, we'd be good to go. So I would definitely look into this, especially if you're into interior design and you're also a perfume girly. I think this would be a good route for somebody business wise. Again, don't have to turn your hobby into a business, but if you want a little extra cash, just saying. This one can range from being, I'll say, pricey to very expensive, but it just depends on what you decide to do. Because like I said, this can be candle making, this can be oil diffusers, and essential oils are pretty affordable. So you can just do oil diffusers, but if you decide to take it an extra step, probably very expensive. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. This was a fun one. I'm really enjoying talking about these bougie topics, and I think they're really cool. I don't know, like I'm really enjoying it. And if you enjoyed it too, hit the subscribe button and like this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.